All right.
All
They had a
right.
good session now. I think they were fired up, huh?
They were aficionados. He said that name.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Okay.
All right. Coronavirus number 15.
Wow.
Number
Wow.
15. Diabetes part 2, honey.
Part two, and the
Yes.
thing that's so beautiful is that we're going to look at the disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Okay. So let's go to
Let's
that
go there
disclaimer
now.
at
Let's
this
go.
time. All right. Let's read this. All right. So, therefore, disclaimer is coming up on the screen very shortly at this time. And so when it comes on the screen, I'll start reading the disclaimer. So if it's not on the screen, I'll read it by heart. Here it is. The information presented in this presentation is not to diagnose, treat, or prescribe, but to educate only. We advise that you consult with your primary care physician before incorporating any complementary, sometimes known as integrative, and or alternative medicine. All right?
Oh, now, I like this one because, we talked to you before. It's been a couple weeks.
Yes,
We
couple
talked
of
to you
weeks.
before about diabetes as it relates to COVID-19.
Yes.
And Curtis, I noticed some people probably didn't hear that. Could you give us just a little small amount of what are we talking about when we talk about the fact of COVID and also diabetes?
Okay. Let's turn the page. So here you go, folks. All right, now, Pastor, he's been saying at this church he wants a no-divorce couple at this church. No divorce.
No divorces. He sure said that.
There's
He
an
sure
exception to the rule,
Oh,
Pastor.
an
Exception to
exception?
the rule.
Uh-oh.
All right? Here it is. Now, on the left side, the global symbol for diabetes is a round blue circle.
Okay.
That's it. That's the global symbol.
All right.
So if a person has diabetes, if they get COVID-19, it's going to make their diabetes symptoms worse.
Wow. Okay.
Diabetes makes COVID-19 symptoms worse.
Okay.
They exacerbate one another. Therefore, this medical journal, this is the title of this article, and unholy interactions of two pandemics. Diabetes is a global pandemic. So when these two join together in holy matrimony, that's why I call this a forbidden marriage.
Okay.
One makes the other one worse.
Okay. 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 All
Therefore, that's why we need to know our diabetes, our A1C, glucose levels.
right.
8 million people are diabetic and don't even know it. Get the test. Get the test. All right, it's very good for that. All right. So now, having said that, honey, now we're talking about diabetes.
All right.
Let's first define the term. What is carbohydrates? Because when talking about diabetes, the main central point is carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates, that's a word that people don't really like to
Yes.
hear. They got a lot of comments negative about carbohydrates. But look at
So
this.
let's
We're
define
going
the
to
term,
break
honey.
the word down.
Break it down.
Carbohydrate.
So, what
we
it
talk
is.
about the word carbo.
Carbo.
Now that carbon we're talking about, it's a short for carbon. It's
Okay.
essential elements. It's actually used for energy.
So that's carbo,
We gotta
short
have
for
that.
carbon, all right?
Now we talk about that hydrate. We're talking now about the water.
Okay.
And the water, it means the water is an essential fluid necessary to all living organisms, which means that carbohydrate is so important for the body system.
That was excellent. You're doing a wonderful job, really.
As
You
a
really
matter
are.
of fact, next graphic.
I don't know why you're laughter,
The
but
next
we all
graphic.
know the symbol for
We
water,
know it, we know it, we know
H2O,
it.
put a C, H2O. Okay, now.
let's talk about the Creator God.
Now, how does God does
Let's
this?
talk about the Creator God.
Talk about God
All
now.
right, so
all right.
now we know God has the sun.
Okay,
He
the
created
sun.
the sun, okay?
That's the
He's
light.
given the light. He's also created the carbon dioxide.
That's the air.
Yeah. And then he's created the rain and the water.
Okay, that's the rain.
So those will actually go to the plant
It
itself.
hits the plant.
Then when it hits the plant, it gives us carbohydrates.
There we go. So
and
when we eat the
oxygen.
plant, we get
Yes.
the energy from
Yes.
the plant.
Yes.
Because of the sunlight,
Yes.
the water, and
Right.
the air.
That's it.
So
That's it.
let's turn the page.
All
Let's
right.
look at this.
All right.
All right.
So when we look at this together, think about it.
The main purpose.
The main purpose of carbohydrates is like what gas is to a car to cause it to have the fuel it needs to move.
Okay.
Is like carbohydrates are to the body to give us the energy that we need to have.
So we need carbohydrate. All right. So good point.
Okay, so here we go. Now, Curtis, a lot of times people are trying to figure out what is going on when we talk about carbohydrates as it relates to the immune system, and now we're talking about COVID-19. So break that down for us.
Okay, now this is very important. Okay, quote, we now know that carbohydrates can directly recognize by T cells and participate in T cell stimulation. Now what that means, we talked about T cells before, all right?
Right.
T cells don't play. Part of the immune system.
Yes.
So when we eat carbohydrates, T cells go, oh, wait a minute, I recognize that. T cells, that's geared up, ready to fight, all right? So these are two bad boys, T cells, all right?
They are. We've
so
seen them before.
carbohydrates boost up the immunity.
Yes.
Some of your vaccines have a carbohydrate base to them because of that. So it's good for that, all right? So go right here, honey.
No. These are bad boys. I like
Yes.
them. Let's go a little bit further. Let's look at that next graphic that actually
Okay.
brings us on to the next one because, Curtis, I have a question
Okay,
for
now
you.
okay.
All right, now I want you to look at these foods very carefully.
Okay, I'm gonna look at these foods.
And
I got 6
want you
foods.
to tell me which ones are carbohydrates.
Okay, now this is easy. I
Okay,
mean,
go
this
ahead.
is easy.
Okay, go ahead.
I know I got 2
Okay.
of these. Bread and potatoes are carbohydrates.
Okay.
I know I got those 2,
that's
right?
Just 2, but there's 2. Okay, now, Curtis,
Well,
you give me some more.
maybe grapes, maybe another one.
Okay, come on,
Okay,
come on.
that's about it. Okay.
Oh, no, but what about that cabbage?
No, cabbage and I know onion is not a carbohydrate. I know that can't be
Okay,
it. Okay, but we run out of time, so let's
okay.
go ahead. So how many
All
of the 6?
of them. All of them.
All
that you see.
6 are carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates.
All of them.
All of them.
That probably
So-
shocked a lot of people right there.
So we're
So let's turn
talking
the
in the
page,
series about the very first one, which is the simple carbohydrate. When
First
we talk
type.
about that first type of carbohydrate, we're now talking about the fruits and we're talking about non-starchy vegetables. Now, a lot of times when we say simple carbohydrates, people say things like, oh, they mean
Yeah.
cookies and
Potato
cake.
chips.
That
No.
is not considered as a simple carbohydrate.
Now, we'll get to that later on.
Right. The
First
simple
type of
ones.
carbohydrates is simple fruit and non-starchy vegetables.
And when we talk about the
me an
non-starchy
example of that.
vegetables, we're talking about the eggplant, we're talking about carrots. Any vegetable that does not leave a residue that can be sticky, like paste, they're considered as
So
non-starchy
dark leafy
vegetables.
greens, spinach.
Right.
Okay.
Eggplant,
all that,
corn,
yes.
all of those are a part of that kingdom as well. So, let's see.
Well, let's turn the page because now we did this last time we were up
animation
here. We have an
time.
animation.
Animation
so let's go
time.
with the animation. As soon as
Yes.
it starts, I'm going to start talking.
Yeah.
Okay, it starts. Fruit goes into the system, goes into the stomach, all right? It triggers the pancreas to produce insulin.
All right.
All right? So that fruit turns into glucose, blood sugar, all right?
Yes.
Therefore, insulin is needed. Take that blood sugar into the cell for energy.
Yes.
Insulin acts like a key,
Okay.
opens up the cell door, and the glucose goes into the cell for energy. And this is what's happening right here, all right? So, therefore, the cell door opens up because the key, glucose, goes in the cell, and it opens up the door, insulin, and that's how fruit is good for energy for our bodies as far as that's concerned, all right?
All right,
so having
so-
said all of that, I think we have a closing text.
We have a
honey.
closing text. We always want to go to the Word of God, and we want to go to this the very first chapter of Genesis.
chapter 1.
God put in place what He needed for us to
In
eat.
verse
So
29.
we have Genesis 1:29, and it does say what?
I give you every seed-bearing plant and every tree that has fruit to you, it shall be for food.
So
all
our
right?
very first one, simple carbohydrates, and we want you to stay by because we also have to go to the other. There's 2 more to go.
2 more to go.
Two more to go.
So, as always, John 10:10, Jesus said, I come, that they might have life and have it more abundantly.